Yeah, let's talk about death and dying because it's an inevitability. Great. She Dies Tomorrow, released in 2020, and I have to get this off my chest right now. Whenever I hear this title, She Dies Tomorrow, I think of season 1 of American Horror Story and the actress on there whoever was going into that house, she was always standing outside and she just pointed at them and said, "You're gonna die in there." Every time I think of this title, I just think of that character and I think of that season. Great. Now let's talk about dying. And this film is directed by Amy Seimetz, who is behind the TV series The Girlfriend Experience. And this film is starring Caitlin Scheel, Jane Addams, Kentucker Adley, Chris Messina, Katie Aselton, Michelle Rodriguez, and Josh Lucas, who just randomly appear in here. Because I think they're just friends with the director. That's the best that I can come up with. And this film was a screener that I had received through gingernutsofhorror.com, which is a great website where you can go to view anything horror related when it comes to books, TV, movies, video games. Anything that's horror that's being created is really reviewed and posted on gingernutsofhorror.com. They've been great to me, and this was a screener that I got through it, and I liked the title. Again, it made me think of the American Horror Story line from season 1. And after watching this movie, I realized, like, oh, okay, again, we're talking about death here. So my anxiety is going to go through the frickin' roof. Our lead character, Amy, has just recently purchased a home and is being congratulated over the phone by her best friend, Jane. However, Amy is acting very strangely and says over the phone that she is going to die tomorrow. And since that is a very scary thing to hear from your best friend over the phone, Jane goes over to Amy's new house to comfort her. However, through their conversation, Jane starts to believe that she is also going to die tomorrow. And when she leaves Amy's house, she goes over to her brother's house, where she tells them that she is also convinced that she is going to die tomorrow. And surprise, surprise, Jane's brother and his wife also realize that they are also going to die tomorrow. Why is this happening? I don't know. We are never given an answer as to why this sudden paranoia of, hey, I'm going to die tomorrow, is starting, or how it's being spread. We just know it's spreading. That's the first thing I'm going to say about this film, right off the bat. If you want answers to things, if you want things to be resolved, don't watch this movie. This film is one great big metaphor that has a lot of philosophical ideas and a lot of realizations that we as humans really don't want to realize, so we distract ourselves with watching videos on YouTube or just watching movies in general because we don't want to realize that, yes, we are actually going to die at some point. It could be tomorrow, which is a very big fear that a lot of people have. I am one of them. I remember being a kid, and I think when I was 8 years old, I think it was second grade, but I remember lying in my bed at night. Of course, it was bunk beds at that point, but I remember just laying there and all of a sudden realizing that, oh my God, I'm a human being. And human beings die eventually. I'm going to die. I don't want to die. And I remember running to my parents and just bawling my eyes out that entire night because I, as an 8-year-old kid, realized that, holy shit, I'm going to die one day. And this world is going to go on millions and billions of years after I am gone. And talking about it is actually not good. Whew, I don't like talking about that. It's an inevitability that we all need to come to terms with at some point in our lives. But, understandably, and I get this sometimes too, where I will wake up. I think it just happened to me last month. One night I just woke up and realized, like, oh shit, I'm in my 30s. I'm working my way towards the grave. Holy shit, it's coming. And I know that this can be a hard subject for you, the listener, to hear. So if you don't want to hear this topic or to hear my review of this film, I don't recommend this movie for you. And really, in the end, I don't recommend this movie to anyone who wants to, for an hour and a half, just listen to all these human beings talk about, like, yeah, so death is an inevitability, and, you know, I'm gonna die tomorrow. Do you want to listen to that? for an hour and a half? Constantly? Because I didn't. If I am going to applaud this film, it is for this philosophical script that we have, and it tackles a lot of just the inevitability of dying, and the realization as to us as a society, us as a species, for whatever reason, we plan for tomorrow, and we plan for months and years in advance. But that's not guaranteed. We are the only species that does that. Every other species lives in the moment. But we, as human beings, we like reminiscing. We like thinking about things that have passed on. We like thinking about times, funny times that we had with families or loved ones who may have already passed on. Or we like thinking about the future. Oh, yes, we're eventually gonna, move into a bigger house. Or yes, I want to retire here. Or maybe eventually I want to get this promotion at work. But we don't like living in the moment, like every other species on this planet does. So I will commend the script for that. Now, the philosophy and the conception of this film doesn't make for a very enjoyable hour and a half. As a matter of fact, there's no... Fuck, I hate using this term. I hate it because people use it at work all the time. But it works here. There's no sense of urgency with this movie. Personally, when I go into a film, I want there to be some sort of conflict, and I want there to be an attempt to resolve this conflict. And when we get to that climax, and we get to a nice payoff, usually I'm in a good mood when I leave a film. This movie doesn't really have conflict. This movie doesn't have a problem. It just has a realization of an inevitable end. And that's really, really boring and depressing. This film is less than an hour and a half. It's about an hour 25. It felt like 3 hours. And it's not due to the performances. These actors do a good job with what they're given. It was actually really cool seeing Katie Hasselton on screen. I haven't seen her since The League. Great TV show if you haven't watched it. An episode of that TV show without commercial breaks is 25 minutes long. And time is all relative. So in the relative time that I experienced and felt with this film, I feel like I could get through an entire season of that show in the time that I watched this movie. The film is just a fucking drag. And in this film, whenever a character starts to realize that, hey, they are going to die tomorrow, they start getting all these great club strobe lights, reds and blues on screen. Definitely jarring. It's kind of nice, actually, though, because we get some color and something different happening on screen. But then the rest of the time we just watch people talk about death. We see people stare at bacteria through a microscope. The movie's just depressing as fuck. And this film has a great Rotten Tomatoes score. Critics love it, and I think they're just focusing mainly on the philosophical ideas of the script, which I think are really good. But just in the end, how could I recommend this film to anyone? Hey, it's an hour and a half movie where these characters talk constantly about their inevitable death. Just with them, they are convinced that it's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know. Me as a person, I don't want to think about it because I know my death is inevitable. And yes, it could happen tomorrow. It could happen later this week. It could happen 10 years from now. Hopefully not, but it could. I don't want to be reminded of that. And then the big name actors show up in this film, and I'm just going like, oh, you're definitely friends with the director. Why are you here? Josh Lucas, I haven't seen you since Stealth, and now here you are. I'm pretty sure that was the last movie that I saw him in, was Stealth. And that one, I want to forget this movie. That movie is forgettable. And Michelle Rodriguez, who plays someone who's already gotten the sickness. Jane walks into their house just randomly, and she's bleeding out of her abdomen. Michelle Rodriguez is there with her partner, and they've realized that they're going to die tomorrow, and they talk about periods, and how they've had their last period, and how people in old times, women used to go into the rivers for their periods, so like warriors would see the rivers run red with blood, so they would think that they were like sadistic people in that village. That was the story. Again, I feel like I just bored you by reciting that story to you, and I felt like that whole time was like 10 minutes, when really, in fact, what was it? 2, 3? That's this movie. I can't recommend this to anyone. Does it have a great philosophy behind it? Sure. Some questionable sound choices and music choices. A lot of times we get a classical piece that is playing, and then all of a sudden it'll do a jump cut, kind of like what I do with my films, and there's no drop out, the music just ends. And it's jarring, and I didn't like it, because it kept happening over and over and over again. Oh, this movie happened, and it exists. It's the best I can say. I'm gonna give She Dies Tomorrow 2 out of 5 Blu-rays. I've had better. Alright guys, so we are going to be continuing. Wow, I just got like really bored and depressed just talking about this movie. Can I go on? Can I review my next GingerNutsOfHorror.com screener that I got? I don't know if I can, but that's this week, and I have another screener that I gotten from them, so we'll check that out next time. If any of you have recommendations of films that you want me to review on here, leave a recommendation below this video, or go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my Twitter, leave a recommendation there. If I have access to it, I will watch, review it, and give you a shout out on the channel. If you want your recommendation done as quickly as possible, you can make a PayPal donation on the main page of my YouTube channel. Any size donation will do. Leave your movie with your donation, and if I have access to it, I will watch it and get my review done as quickly as possible. So guys, have you seen She Dies Tomorrow? What did you think about it? Am I wrong in my assessment? Because the Rotten Tomatoes score is so high, and yet mine is so low. I don't know. Am I wrong? Please, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so the next time I release my next movie review. So I will see everyone next time, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.